Awakening the God Within. Today is part 3, which is titled Identifying the Silver Lining. So, in the previous episode, we spoke about determining what has limited you. And we spoke about how the words that have been spoken over our lives, the labels that we have been given from birth, how they create limitations for your spirit, which is boundless. And so today, to identify the silver lining will be to know that all of those limits and all of those labels have not been without purpose. God is not purposeless in all that he does. He knows the family he birthed you in. He knows the circumstance. He knows the country. He knows the race. He knows all of that. And he intended for all of that to be used to his glory. Amen. So the thing about it is that your entire purpose can be found in the details of your birth, of your DNA, of who the family you have been placed in, right? Because you have been born into that situation, you are able to relate to those who are of a similar background. And so it becomes your purpose. And so there becomes nothing to regret. There becomes nothing to be ashamed of. There becomes nothing to wish for you to wish was different. Everything comes with its intention, and God has planned for it so. And so when you understand that, you begin to accept it, and then you can now use it for his glory. So the idea is to identify the limitation such that you are no longer limited by it, and then to understand that that limitation had purpose. And since you have been one who have been able to free yourself from the bounds that were intended for you, then you can then now be able to free others because you are able to relate to their experience. The same thing with Jesus Christ. We know that he came in human form so that he was able to relate to our experience as human beings. And we know that we have a mediator that knows and understands the feelings and the emotions that we go through as humans. And so you too are set to be a light for someone who have been in a similar circumstance to you. And so first it becomes to be able to identify it, free yourself from it, but then to also not regret it, to not wish it was different, but to understand that you have been called to also free others. And so I am very aware of the form that I have been placed in this physical world. Like I said, a young Black woman. And I do understand that this form is going to be able to relate and minister to others more than it is to others. And you know what? That is completely fine, because if you need me to come in another form, then that just means I have not been sent for, because I am incapable of coming in any other form but this one. And God knows what he was doing in giving me this form. And so it becomes really easy to exist then when you trust God and trust that he has put you in the form that he wants you to be in, because then you are able to just exist. You do not have to tailor yourself to the taste of others, because that would be to forfeit what you have been called to do. That would be to forfeit the people you were actually called to, who relate to you for this reason. And so it becomes a place to then accept all the characteristics that God has placed in you from birth, because they were with reason. And they are different from characteristics that have formed after years of trauma. That's different, and that will be spoken about in a different time. But we see when we deal with children that they have natural characteristics that have been God-given. And we do not need to shave down or alter, because God was intentional in placing that in them. Because there is an entire purpose for it. He put it there with a purpose. And so our entire life has been with purpose. And so identifying the silver lining is to understand that every single label, every single misunderstanding of you, every single operation that the world has thrown at you to try to silence you and quiet the nature within has been with purpose. And when you are able to now come out on the other side, you are able to operate and use those things that were supposed to limit you, but you're now able to use it for the glory of God, to show that you, in this form, are a limitless being as well as everyone else.